And welcome back to Sullivan's Unheard Voices. I'm here with Bryan. Bryan, I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate my 50th podcast to talk about veterans with another veteran.
We're -1.
I know we're -1, but we'll make do.
All right.
We'll have a rain check for when Julian is better off
All right.
to join us. But I appreciate it because a lot of people don't understand the sacrifices that you have to make when you join the military. And then, depending on your experience in the military, it has impacts for you lifelong. So, what prompted your decision to join the military?
A lot of 80s movies.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Top Gun was probably a good one. That was a movie that pushed me in that direction. But I ended up in the Army, not Navy.
So, was there a decision or reason behind the Army versus the Navy?
It was just tied to the ROTC in high school.
Yeah.
I was Army night or the ROTC in high school, so it just made sense for me to stay in the Army.
So what was that like, ROTC in the high school?
A lot of color guard.
Yeah?
Yeah, a lot of school events.
Did you do push-ups and all of the whole 9 yards the whole time through? Because I flirted with joining ROTC, but I didn't make that commitment.
Yeah, we would do running and just simple PT, stuff like that.
So basically, before basic training, then you had some preliminary skills because of the ROTC.
Oh yeah.
Did it help a lot?
Yes, it did, and it helps with when you're in there that you can earn a promotion having the ROTC connection.
Oh, and that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, you can go in as instead of an E1 and E2.
And frankly, the difference between E1 and E2 in that time was quite a substantial difference in pay.
Yeah.
Talk about because I remember the other thing that people don't understand is when you join the military, you are actually in poverty until you get that first promotion.
Yeah.
You can't afford anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget. I thought I had everything planned out. When I joined the military, that it was going to be this cakewalk of I was going to be in the money and all that. I was broke until I was an E3.
Yeah.
That was a huge wake up call.
Yeah. And that's when you start making the money.
Yeah. That's when and it's also when you start getting to this concept of you might be able to live somewhere other than the barracks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what was your MOS?
Mine was 11 Bravo.
11 Bravo?
Yeah, just infantry.
Straight up.
I think it's 11 X-ray now. I think everything's been classified 11 X-ray that deals with infantry now.
It was 11 Bravo when I was in.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, then it may still be 11 Bravo.
I think you might be right. I just haven't followed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just heard rumor that it was all going 11 X-ray.
That would kind of make sense to a certain extent.
Yeah. To a certain extent.
Yeah. Because we always had the scouts were a different, I think it was 11. Now my mind is not going to be able to figure that one out. But yeah, they had special classifications for scouts and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just a grenadier.
Okay.
Is what within my unit, that's what I would have been classified as, a grenadier.
So
you were a rifleman unit.
So you were you had the gun that had the grenade launcher on it?
Yeah, the little M203.
See, they discontinued those before I was in, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just an underslung grenade launcher.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I remember shooting we'd shoot these chalk rounds at the targets. That was a lot of fun.
I used to love that. I gave up shooting almost entirely after I left the military.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
I have
things.
A funny story about shooting in the military.
Yeah, please.
I didn't know that I was. I don't know if they showed you guys while you're going through about your dominant eye.
Yeah.
About holding a finger out, and if the thing moves left or right, then.
Yeah, I'm definitely right eye dominant.
Yeah, well, I didn't know for a long time. So when I first went to shoot and qualify, I was shooting like crap.
Yeah.
Couldn't hit crap. And so this drill sergeant's like, "Hey, I want you to do this thing here. We got to find out what your dominant eye is." And he showed me it and found out what my dominant eye was. Found out I was left eye dominant, not right eye dominant. So I had to start shooting left-handed, and that was a trick because you know where the ejection port is on an M16.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Oh, it's
right,
in your face.
Yeah, it's right by it. So I have them switching left-handed now. Every time I'd come off the range, I would have black just smeared. Yeah, because I'm shooting left-handed, right-handed rifle. Because all weapons are right-handed.
Yeah.
They don't go out of their way to make you a left-handed rifle. So for me to qualify, I had to shoot left-handed.
I'm letting that sink in for a minute.
Yeah.
So, like, what do they say? Like, I'm curious. Like, do they just not let you join if you're left-handed? That's wild. I never even thought about that.
Yeah, because you know where the ejection port is.
Yeah, it's right near your face.
Yeah.
Like, how do you stop the brass from getting in your eye if you're not wearing glasses? Man,
you didn't. I just didn't qualify. I was hitting everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hit 35 out of the 40 on qualification.
I would always get 38 or 39. I was always a good shot. So, go ahead.
Oh, we had one guy, one of my buddies there. His name was Bryan Beck. Ended up getting called to the I don't know what it was, but he did really well on his qualification. Like he hit everything, 40 out of 40. Yeah. So he just did really good. We had a couple guys like that, but it always ended up being a competition between the companies.
Yeah.
Who was gonna score the highest?
We never had that. I don't think.
You guys didn't?
No.
It was.
But basic training for me was weird. It was really weird. Like I had envisioned what basic training was going to be, and it was nothing like I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Like I really thought it was going to be like in the movies, like it was going to be terrible and all this other stuff. But the reality was it wasn't as terrible as I thought it was going to be.
We had some horrible things that,
Yeah.
But you got. I don't know if you ever heard of like a blanket party.
Yeah, they didn't allow those when I was in.
Oh, yeah, we had one that actually occurred. They used bars of soap on the guy.
Oof.
In their socks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just went to town on him.
For not falling in line?
Well, the crazy thing was it was at a reception. We hadn't even been sent down range yet. It was at all. Yeah.
Did he mess up that bad, or was he just not getting along?
Yeah, I just think he was just not getting along with anybody there, and that's how it went down.
Wow. That's wild.
At reception, yeah.
Yeah, we had a couple of guys that bowed out before we completed basic training.
Right. We had a lot of guys get recycled.
We didn't have anybody get recycled.
Oh.
Surprisingly enough. Like everybody graduated except for 2, and those 2 were medically chaptered out.
I would say we had 5 or 6 that I remember getting that got recycled. Well, not, like they got recycled to where they had to go back so far.
Yeah.
To get, or they couldn't get sent down range because they couldn't meet the physical requirements that were going to be required once you got there.
What were the physical requirements? Do you remember?
Oh, no, not right off.
Because I remember it was 52 push-ups, 50.
That sounds about right.
52 sit-ups, I think, and then you had to run a mile in under 11 minutes.
Yeah,
was our qualifiers. Yeah. And we only had one person who was not able to make the running piece of it.
And that's really a lot of time to give somebody to run a mile.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
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 Uh-huh. And it was the wildest experience ever to see grown men and women say things like dag burn, gosh darn, because they weren't allowed to swear. Our drill sergeants were not allowed to swear.
Oh, that's weird too.
Yeah.
Ours swore like a motherfucker. Sorry, but they did. They didn't hold any punches. It was just in your face. It was like,
yeah,
we were going to light you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And knife hands.
Oh, yeah. That's
And
weird. They couldn't swear at all.
no, no. Only so the only time they swore were three times. Once when it was just the guys and we were doing a rec march back,
Right.
we did some Jody calls because it was just the dudes. And then the two times we got punished because just the men screwed up and they were allowed
Was
to
that just
curse at
because it's the
us.
co-ed?
I don't know for sure. I think so because the minute the women weren't around, every drill sergeant swore they're like there's no
Oh,
tomorrow.
yeah.
But the soon as, and I think it might be because there were 17-year-old women in our basic training
Yeah.
more than anything else. Because we had like 17-year-olds
Oh, that
that
could
were
be
doing
it.
their gap year,
Hmm.
where they actually joined the military their junior year of high school. Then they attend basic training during summer between their junior and senior high school year.
Right.
And then they graduate high school and then they go to their guard unit. And so I'm thinking it's probably because of the age and
Yeah.
the female more than anything else. Now that I'm looking back on it,
Hmm.
because I could see if they were adults, they wouldn't care.
Yeah, they didn't. They didn't seem to care.
Yeah, because they didn't care once I got into my units. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
people always ask me, "Can I curse?" Like, I was in the army. Like, you can't say anything that I haven't heard before.
Right.
I've heard some wild stuff. Like, okay,
Mhm.
how'd you come up with that? But anyway, so talk to me a little bit about where you grew up, because like I'm friends with Amy,
Right.
and she tells me all about like the stories that you have.
Oh yeah. It's
And
because we did everything outside me and my brothers. That's
yeah,
probably what led to these stories.
yeah,
Yeah. Like grew up in Alaska. I spent like the first 7 years of my life, and then we headed east. I guess you'd say.
yeah.
Yeah, to Oregon, and then from there we've lived like in Florida, as far south as Venezuela.
You lived in Venezuela? How long
Yeah,
did you live in
2.5
Venezuela?
years.
What prompted that?
My dad's job.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was he in the military?
No, he was a electrician and he worked on oil rigs.
And so he was on the Venezuelan oil rig,
Yeah.
and you all were living on the beach in Venezuela while he was working on the rig?
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was 12. I was
Wow.
14 when we left. 14 and a half.
So did you go to like an English speaking school, or were you just
No,
thrown right into
we were
Spanish
thrown right into
speaking?
the Spanish, and we had Spanish classes. We had to learn Spanish. Yeah, it was very cool.
That's awesome.
It was.
In a way that would be terrifying, but in a way that would be
I don't
awesome.
think my mind registered how terrifying it should have been
Yeah.
at the time, but
100%.
I was more than excited than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so is it like,
I was like, wait, we're going to another country for how long?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a kid. I'm super excited.
what were the conditions like though? Was it like United States sort of living conditions, or was it like were you in an apartment, a house, or
It was like a duplex.
yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's what we lived in.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And
And
then
it was just like, I mean, like the manufacturing, of course, is different. We didn't have carpet.
yeah,
It was just like tiled floors.
yeah,
And then we had a second floor. It was pretty much the same thing.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you come back from Venezuela. Where'd you go then?
Oh, from there we went to, I want to say, yeah, we were back in Oregon. We came back to Oregon.
And then what's this conversation? She keeps telling me you need to hear the cave story. The cave story.
There's a lot of cave stories. She's right there.
So tell me a cave story, because I want to hear a cave story.
I'm trying to think of. Well, there was the one in Alabama we went to. My brothers, we went there, and there's these signs saying "Do not enter," methane level, high methane gas levels.
Yeah,
But my brothers and me, we just went ahead and went anyways. We got in there with just regular flashlights and headlamps.
yeah.
And my brother Van was like, "We're gonna need more light." And so we go back, to our home, whatever. And they come up with this idea of bringing an entire car light and car battery into the cave to light it up. And that was just the front. And then the rest of it we did in the headlamps. And we would go back, just into these little areas of this cave and covered in bat dung from like head to toe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And like, was there anything in these caves other than bat dung, or just kind of
Bats and albino cave crickets. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. Just little, they were like just white crickets everywhere. And the bats, of course, were eating the fuck out of them. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And they were
it was
probably
it was an entire ecosystem in there.
that's so wild.
Yeah.
And I'm always curious, like, why the heck would they have the methane? But I guess if it's bats,
Yeah, if you walked into it, and I don't know if you've ever smelled bat shit before, like on a high level.
yeah,
Yeah, it's horrendous.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a horrible smell.
And how many of these caves were there in Alabama?
That was the only one that I went to with my brothers in Alabama.
Okay.
But outside of Alabama, there's been a lot.
Is it just like a hobby that you guys had? Like, we're
Yeah,
just gonna
if
go
there
check
was
out
a hole in
caves?
the ground, we were going in it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What was the coolest cave you ever been to?
Was the craters of the moon in Idaho.
What was that like? Just
If you
huge?
can imagine walking through a giant lava tube.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's awesome.
Just huge, massive, where lava used to pass through, and then there was a frozen waterfall inside one of them, and it was like perpetually frozen year round. I don't think it ever unfroze
Wow.
because of it was being underground.
In Idaho, of all places.
Yeah,
I'm going to have
Yeah.
to check that out.
yeah, Craters of the Moon. Check it out.
So then tell me about, so like you joined the military,
Mm.
and then where does it go off the rails from there?
From there,
Yeah.
when I went AWOL,
Yeah.
yeah,
Was there a reason behind that? Because I almost
just
went
helping
AWOL
a
like
buddy
3 or
go
4
AWOL.
times. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Just
I
had
stayed,
enough.
I stayed well past the 30 days. Well, not really well past. It was actually right on the cusp,
Yeah.
but that was enough to get me more than reprimanded. I don't suggest people doing it.
No.
Yeah,
Because the ramifications follow you forever.
for life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because
If
like,
you've ever heard of the black spot that pirates get, it's the black spot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because like the VA, because of that, denies you access to things that you should
Yeah.
normally have access to, and that sucks.
Yeah.
Right.
But I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to spend like 4.5, 5 months at Fort Knox, where you did your A school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just because you took off for
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It was enough.
Yeah. Because I don't think people understand when you sign that dotted line,
Yeah. And absent
You
without
are-
leave is no joke.
property of the United States government.
Yeah.
You are property of the United States government. You surrender. That's the ironic part about serving the military, is because once you join, you're not free.
No.
And so everybody defending the freedom of this country is not free. And the ramifications of that it was a total mind fuck for me. Like the first time I had somebody get arrested for destruction of government property because they got into a fight with a soldier
Yeah.
was like, what?
Is that even a thing? Yeah.
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 I'm like, how is that? Like, no, it's a thing. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so where did you end up after you got done serving?
Back in Oregon?
Yeah. And you've been here kind of ever since?
No. No.
So where'd you go to after Oregon?
I've been to many of the mini states.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably like, like Utah, Colorado, places like that.
What's your favorite state so far?
Oregon,
Yeah, same here.
by far.
Yeah.
You just got everything here. You got the mountains. You have the desert out east. Then you have the ocean.
And I love being where I'm at now because you're like
In the
an
valley.
hour and a half away from everything.
Yeah.
Hour and a half from the mountains, hour and a half from the beach, hour and a half from the city.
Yeah.
It's just it's nice and centrally located.
If you ever look at it on Google Maps, the Willamette Valley, have you ever looked at it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool how we just sit in this little depression.
It's like right in the middle and it's
Yeah.
surrounded by
Yeah.
Mhm. So then you get out of the military and you're bouncing around.
And that's when I get heavy into my art.
Okay, tell me about that.
I drew a whole bunch of people.
Yeah,
Yeah. I just got into it and uh, just kept drawing people.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you give that up?
I wouldn't say I gave it up. I can still do it. I just
Yeah.
don't do it.
Or
Yeah.
don't do it as much, or just not at all anymore?
Not as much. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, like, would you
Because I
like?
used to be really like big into it on YouTube and that,
Yeah,
showing my art and this, and I just got burnt eventually.
yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of once the creativity part, it's like it's different when you're doing it for fun versus when you're doing it for work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes the
Yeah.
enjoyment out of it
Mhm.
sometimes.
I still like to pick a pencil or a pen and draw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I still have it.
And so, would you like go to festivals and fairs and just draw people, or just sort of
No,
how would you get your sources, if you will?
I would draw from my head or from photos, things like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'd have people that would give me photos, and I would do portraits for them and stuff like that. Yeah, a lot of them. I mean, I'm gonna ask her a question real quick. How
Go
many
for it.
photos would you say I did at that place? How many drawings would you say I did at that place? Portraits. Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot.
A lot. There was a lot of them because it would take me like 8 to 9 hours to do one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was that using like pastel pencils or
Just
pens
pencil.
or just pencil?
Yeah.
That's it. I'm not that talented at all. At all. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, when I was in basic training, they used to ask me, "What the hell are you doing here?"
Yeah.
You know, and I actually drew up. I don't know if it's still there. It'd be badass if it was, but the floor emblem for our barracks, which was a screaming eagle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I drew up the design for the one that they ended up putting down on the floor in that barracks. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they wanted to change it, and so they did.
And which barracks was this?
At Fort Benning, Charlie Company.
So Charlie Company, Fort Benning Barracks. Anybody watching that has access to that, if you see that emblem,
The eagle. Yeah.
send me a picture, please. Like, yeah, I want to know if it still exists. Like, I remember, gosh, I almost don't want to say this story, but I remember when I was stationed in Fort Stewart, Georgia, that the rumor was there was this huge debate between the outgoing and incoming generals of the base on whether or not to redo the statue of the bulldog because its private parts were not the right size.
Where was this?
This was Fort Stewart, Georgia. Like, I've never figured out if that was actually true or not,
Right.
but that was the going rumor at the time. I'll never forget that. Like, that sounds just like the Army.
It's weird now that we're talking about it, basic and that. I can actually, I'm getting some of the smells I used to smell in
Yeah.
basic. Does that sound weird? Yeah.
No, no, it's different. It's unlike. So, like, I tried to tell people, like, what does the day room smell like when you're in the day room? It's like if you've ever been to a place where it's rained inside because of the amount of sweat.
Bunch of horses' asses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's the smell that perpetrated all of the buildings in basic
Yeah.
training. Just this dank, nasty smell that
yeah.
I'll never get out of my brain.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, ew, okay.
It is bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like, you're drained to the point of exhaustion every single day that there are days where you want to skip a shower. And there are days where you want to, like, not do what you need to do for hygiene. And some guys didn't.
We had some cool drill sergeants, some really cool ones. They
Yeah.
kept us. There were times there that they were real assholes, but then there were times that they could really motivate the shit out of you.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the first time we did this 5-mile run. It was, yeah, that's when I found out that I actually enjoy running more than I thought, you know.
Mm-hmm. I used to run cross country all the time. Well, I had this similar situation, sort of like in basic training, except for the fact that they played a game with us in the beginning. So two of our drill sergeants pretended like they hated each other. Like they went through this whole elaborate scheme that lasted 3 weeks because like the whole like the
Was it like
finale, if you
good
will.
cop, bad cop
Uh, yeah,
kind
kind
of
of.
thing?
But not necessarily good cop, bad cop. It would be more like Drill Sergeant would say this, and then Drill Sergeant Winder would say, "No, I don't like that. We're going to do this way."
Mm.
And then they would have like this back and forth, like they were actually debating whether or not this was in the best interest of soldiers. It was kind of strange. And then we get to the day where we're scaling the wall. So you go up to the harness and then you drop and
The repelling?
the
Yeah.
rappelling of the wall. And they got into a fake argument at the top of the wall. And Drill Sergeant Wood threw what looked like Drill Sergeant Winder off the top of the scaling wall. And this body came falling down and then ploop, flap. Well, then you discover it's a mannequin. And the drill sergeants are up on top laughing hysterically because they think it's funny that they just did this to us. We're all kind of in shock. Like, what the hell is going on
Did
here?
you guys have to tie your own harnesses?
Oh, no. That was the part that was the joke, is because Drill Sergeant Wood was tying Drill Sergeant Winder's harness. And he said, "You're not tying it right. I'm going to fall. You're not tying it right." And then they threw the mannequin off.
Ah. So what did you guys use then? Just pre-made harness things?
Yeah, so they had the rope and then the couple of the clamps. I can't even see
The
that.
D-rings?
Yeah, yeah. And then they harnessed us up and then we scaled down it. So we didn't actually have a harness.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just did ropes.
Yeah, we had to make ours out of ropes.
Yeah.
Before we actually rappelled off. Everybody had to tie their own harness. And, you just hope to God you tied it right.
Yeah. No, the drill sergeants were
We had
there.
them come by. They would come by and check, make sure that.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But then, like, I'll never forget, like, what was it? 1 week before we graduating, and Drill Sergeant Wood, who didn't talk to anybody, he was a kind of hard ass. And then, like, with a week to go, he started asking us legit questions about ourselves. Like, what do you intend to do? And like, where you like that threw us for a loop. Like, when is he gonna, like, what? I don't understand what's going on here. Like, why are you being nice? And it stayed with us for like 3 or 4 days. We couldn't figure out why this jerk was being nice finally. And I think he was always a nice guy, but the Army way is to not be nice if you're a drill sergeant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. You were in Army, or
I was Army.
You were Army.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I only stayed in for 4 years. I probably would have stayed in for 20 if I didn't get injured. Just because, and not because I wanted to stay in. There's this weird thing that happened about 6 months before I ETS'd. I started panicking about civilian life. And I started thinking, like, I'm not going to be able to make it as a civilian. And so I was going to re-enlist, but then I got injured and couldn't re-enlist.
Right.
If I didn't get injured, I probably would have done 20.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be here today if I would have done 20. So I'm thankful it all worked out.
Did you guys do cadences at all?
Oh, 100%. But we weren't allowed to do the Jody call cadences. So anything involving like boyfriends and girlfriends, we couldn't.
So you guys didn't do I Know a Girl Who Lives on the Hill?
No. We couldn't do any of that. No. And I think that goes back to the co-ed basic training thing.
I think so.
Yeah. Because in Fort Knox we did.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness. Some of the calls, like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, this very, very degrading to women, which surprised the heck out of me. Because it's like, I don't know. But then again, it's the military way.
We had a lot of different ones we did. The steamroller we had, and
yeah. But I don't remember a lot of them.
I remember a lot of them.
It's been
just
so long.
Because we sang them all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All the time.
C-130 rolling down the strip. That's the one I remember the most. Uh-huh. Yeah.
I liked it, though. That was fun. The cadence is probably my favorite part.
Yeah.
And what about hand grenades? You guys do hand grenades?
Once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just throw one or
That
two.
was surprising.
You just throw one live hand grenade and
Yeah.
call it good.
A lot of dummies.
Yeah.
We did a lot of dummy practice with dummy grenades, but we only threw one live grenade in basic training.
Did you have a little blasting cap in your dummy grenades?
No.
No?
No. None of that.
Huh.
Um,
I think it just changes throughout the years.
yeah. Those things are a lot heavier than people realize.
Grenade?
Yeah. Like when you see that stuff on TV.
Well, you got a lot of explosive in your hand there.
Yeah, when you see like in TV though, right? And you see like Schwarzenegger or whatever throw the grenade.
Yeah.
Like 25, 30 feet. Like that ain't happening in real life. That's just not happening.
I know. I was watching some combat footage just out of Ukraine.
Yeah.
I watch a guy. You think he's going to, like the grenade's just going to go through the window, but he throws it up against the window. It hits the window and then it comes right back down. It didn't break the window,
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
You can't throw those things that hard enough to break a window. There's no way. Like, unless you're like, there was one guy I knew that could probably do it, but we had this.
Well, I think what ended up happening with this particular window was it was some sort of plexiglass that they threw out. And so when it hit, it just came off the side. And
I could see that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think a regular grenade would definitely.
Like, we had one guy, specialist pain in Germany, and this dude was a freak of nature. Because like I was in an armor unit, so we had like tanks and stuff like that.
Right.
And I'll never forget it because in a tank, if you need to change the starter, you had to pull the engine, and it's no simple task. It's a pain in the butt.
Oh yeah, in a tank, I would imagine.
Yeah. But this guy Payne, he could change a starter without replacing the engine because the starter was about 200 pounds, but he could one arm it. And so he would undo the starter and pull it out with one arm. Like the toughest son of a gun I ever met.
Yeah.
Like how? Because he never went to the gym. He never did any, but he was the strongest dude I ever met.
Yeah, I would imagine there's a lot of parts to a tank.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A lot of moving parts.
But the weird part about it, though, that perplexes me to this day is that everything runs on low-grade jet fuel or diesel fuel. Like, I'm curious if we're ever going to upgrade the military to run on something that isn't as harmful to the environment as those vehicles are, because they're massive. Like,
yeah, dude, they are.
I remember my 88, which I just found a picture of with me on it. It only got like, 1.5 gallons per mile.
Mm.
Like not even 1 mile per gallon, 1.5 gallons per mile.
Yeah.
And that's just straight up unfiltered diesel exhaust going straight through. And it's like, I don't know if they've ever upgraded any of that stuff.
No, I think they, when you look at World War II and how they used to move all that armor through like North Africa and that, like how Germany moved so much armor with Rommel. And keeping those things constantly fueled would have been a task.
A monumental task. Yeah.
Plus keep them running and operational and field worthy. Yeah, that would have been something.
Because like we had fuel truck upon fuel truck that went with us to everything. Because those tanks, they ate fuel.
Yeah.
But also some of the most amazing killing machines ever invented.
Yeah.
The M1 Abrams.
Yeah, Abrams. I was only ever in a Bradley.
Yeah.
In the belly of a Bradley.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, they suck.
Uh-huh. As a Bradley mechanic, I can attest to that. I always thought they were the biggest waste of vehicles that the military ever procured. I know my buddy Randy disagrees with me on that one.
The gun's badass, yeah.
The gun is badass.
Millimeter.
But you can't really fit any troops and their materials in there.
No.
Like that turret took up so much space in the back. Like you would needed an extra 113 just to haul your gear.
Yeah.
And it's like it doesn't serve a lot of purposes if you can't have your gear readily with you.
No.
I always thought that was strange. And then the tow missile was whoever thought that a missile guided by a wire, because like we would go defaults all the time because like the idea was you have this wire and you can control the tow missile into whatever.
Right.
But the the flame from the
The wire
missile
guided.
would separate the wire all the time. Like, you're talking about a missile with all that heat. So it's
Yeah.
like they would just, like, inaccurate, just like the worst pieces of crap. Like, I'll never forget, like, And then when they finally got the better guided missiles, it was a different story. But
Right.
I remember we had this large presentation. I think it was a World War II memorial, and we were demonstrating the TOW missile or the Stinger missile, and we actually had to rig something on the plane that we were shooting down, just in case we missed it,
Right.
because our accuracy at that time wasn't the best. And so we had World War II veterans sitting down there, and so just in case, we had this device on there so that
They could detonate it.
we could pretend like we shot it out of the sky,
Okay.
so that we would impress the World War II veterans.
Just in case things didn't work out.
Yeah, just in case. So when you were in for like the 11 Bravo thing, so you get out of basic training, what's a typical day like for an 11 Bravo once you're in your regular unit?
Drills. You just, because National Guard.
Yeah.
So you're just doing your 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
It still is. Yeah.
And so you just drill.
Go on drills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For us, it was
We were always in APCs mostly on our drills.
okay.
That's how we trained mobile infantry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was in an armor unit, and I was in a rapid response armor unit. So the goal was we would be able to get all of our tanks from our base to wherever we needed in the country in 24 hours or less.
Right.
And so all of our drills were getting ready for a deployment just in case it happened.
Yeah, I remember like one I was just telling you about not too long ago, where we would with the Op 4 came in with CS gas and hit us with a bunch of CS gas. We came in on the APCs, but we had them all kind of like in a wagon wheel sort of setup.
Yeah.
They were facing out.
Yeah.
We were kind of down in a depression like that. And that's how we would spend our weekends training with Op 4. We always had an Op 4 to go up against or to deal with.
Now, was Op 4 the opposition?
Yeah.
Was that also a guard unit, or was that a permanent unit that would stay there permanent? Because in Grafenwehr and Hohenfelsen, Germany, was the training grounds.
Uh-huh.
And they had permanent units there that would always be the opposition.
I couldn't tell you how that all worked out. I just know that we always had.
And so one time as you're training, they literally dropped CS gas on you.
Oh, yeah.
What was that like?
That was horrible. I didn't make it to my mask because it was way back in the APC, and I remember I was walking the perimeter, and have you ever worn like the night vision with the Cyclops eye?
Yep.
Yeah. So your sense of like perception is really weird.
Yeah.
Well, it was for me anyways. And so, yeah, that's when they hit us with the CS gas and just fucked us up. Yeah.
And if you've never been through CS gas, I hope you never have to.
Yeah, they had small arms. They had the CS gas with the small arms fire, light machine guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Like we never, once we did the CS gas in basic training, we never did it again.
Now, the coolest thing I ever saw happen on a drill was we were actually playing as the Op 4. And we ended up, I don't know how they did it or how it happened, but they ended up getting like some sort of coordinates on where the enemy was going to be. We were the Op 4, but where the unit was going to be. And so we were intercepting their radio calls, or somebody was, at least this is what I heard, was somebody was intercepting calls. And so we were dropping mortar rounds like right on them they just I'll annihilate them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So they had a, kind of, I guess you would say a security leak in their radio handling. But yeah, that was pretty cool. So that whole training was just a shit fest. It was this unit trying to train, and the Op 4 just totally messed them up because some
Yeah.
mistake. Yeah.
I was witness once to a joint task force live fire exercise where we got to see all of the units in action firing towards a fake enemy.
Oh, that would have been cool.
And I got a chance to see a howitzer, which terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying. The amount of damage and carnage that we have as a military.
Oh yeah.
It's like, whoa. I don't want to be on the receiving end of that.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
But I remember the last time I was in the field in Germany, I was actually treed by a pig. Because in Germany they have wild boars. And so I'm out with our night vision goggles. We have dummy rounds, so we don't have any live things or anything to protect us or whatever. And this huge wild boar comes up to the perimeter and charges us, my buddy and I.
Right.
And you can't defend yourself because if you do something and you harm a pig, the paperwork and all that, your sergeants always tell you, don't, whatever you do, don't kill the wildlife in Germany.
Right.
Like, it's a big deal if you kill the wildlife in Germany.
I remember on the range in basic, there was a story about wildlife and a deer crossing the firing range. I don't know if you guys ever had that happen or what it looks like when that happens.
Yeah.
But everybody it seemed like was just lighting up this deer. Yeah. Poor thing. You know what I mean?
I could see that. Yeah. But we both climbed a tree. We were up about like 10 feet. And then the buddy came to replace us to give us relief because we were doing guard duty at the time. And he's like, "Where are you?" Like, "We're on top of you." Like, "What are you doing up there?" It's like, long story.
The wild pig, the boar. Well, boars are vicious.
They were, yeah. She was nasty. She literally treated us,
and they're huge.
Yeah,
they get big.
I was surprised because, like, you hear something in the bushes and you think it's the enemy, and so you have your night vision goggles on, and you're like, you're pointing your weapon with blanks or whatever, and then comes this pig, and you're like, "Uh-oh,
yeah,
what do you do?"
Yeah.
Like, I ran.
You were, yeah, wild boar, razorback.
Yeah,
they can mess you up.
That was wild.
And then, trying to think if I have any other crazy stories about basic right now.
Do you remember your worst punishment?
Yeah, meeting Mr. Happy.
Tell me about that.
It's where they put you in a front-leaning rest position on a hill. It's like a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
And your head's facing down this way, and you're in the push-up position. So, yeah, you're downhill in the push-up position, if you can imagine.
Blood rushing to your head.
It's horrible. It's hard.
Oh.
Yeah, and the front-leaning rest, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably the worst, meeting Mr. Happy. They said one day we would meet him, and we did. And that's what it was. It was just them smoking us really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember what it was for or why it happened, but it did happen.
We were late to formation. Just the guys were late to formation by like 5 minutes.
Right.
Because we were shining our shoes and we lost track of time. We're like, oh, crap. So we run downstairs and all of the women were lined up in formation.
Did you guys use kiwi on your boots and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
We even though they didn't hold us to that standard of crispness in our uniforms in basic training because you couldn't, they did hold us to pretty high standards for shining, and we could get in trouble if our boots weren't shined to a certain extent.
Yeah, okay.
But so we were all late by like 10 minutes to formation, and they took the women to lunch, and they held us back. And again, this was Drill Sergeant Winder, I believe. And he paced back and forth, and he goes, "Let me think. What muscle group haven't I worked out in a while that's going to cause a lot of pain?" And he goes, "I know. We're going to do lunges." And we did lunges for an hour. And I'll never forget the next day not feeling my legs
Oh yeah.
Because like I thought I was going to be able to withstand it. Because like,
Felt like you'd been downhill skiing all night.
oh man, was that rough?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you got to get up and go running the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Suck it up and drive on,
we had
soldier.
lots of those days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fort Benning was relentless, man. Sand Hill.
Oof.
It was. If anybody's ever been, they know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bomb holder, Germany. We called it the Rock because it was on the top of a mountain, and all of the roads were uphill except for like one. And so we would run for like 5 miles and only run downhill just a tiny little bit because it was this huge steep hill down,
Yeah.
and then everything else sort of winded around. And so we would run uphill on the top of the mountain.
I hate running up hills.
Oh, it was horrible.
Mhm.
But then when I got stationed in Fort Stewart, Georgia, all of a sudden I went from like the middle of the pack to the fastest person there because I was running at altitude
Right.
and running uphill and then running at sea level and flat ground because Fort Stewart is just flat. It was night and day difference.
Yeah.
Night and day difference. So you were in the Guard.
Yeah.
So and your Guard unit was in Oregon.
Yeah. Salem. Right there at the fairgrounds.
That kind of makes more sense about being able to go AWOL because like I was active, and if I was gone a day, they would be down.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And so that was the end of that.
yeah,
But life goes on. I'm not regretting it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Like there are times when I question whether I made the right decision or not, just because the Army broke me physically.
Yeah.
And there are days where I wish I wasn't broken.
Right.
But then I come to think like I was probably going to be broken no matter where I was at.
Yeah.
Like my body was just destined to give out because of the punishment. And so
Yeah.
I go back and forth as to whether I would be better off. But I think I would be, just because like the military taught me
Yeah.
structure
It definitely teaches you
and
that.
taught me how to be a better human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like I didn't realize how.
I don't think it's for everybody.
Oh, 100%.
I do think they get some wackos in there,
Mm-hmm.
and they come out on the other side as twisted people.
100%.
Yeah.
But you get that everywhere.
Yeah, you
Like,
do
in every aspect.
every career. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
But it's just my personal feeling. They should do like more psych evaluations on people going in.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like oddly enough, but I don't know. Because like I go back and forth. Because like if I think about it, like at some extent, like while I think it would be a good thing for the military if they did that, I don't think the military would ever do that because they would be turning away too many people.
Yeah.
They kind of at the point now where they take anybody.
I know.
Yeah.
Because
Like
our numbers are so low right now.
yeah.
Mm.
And
Or at least our what do you call it? Our recruitment.
Yeah.
Is not doing so hot.
Well, it's an interesting time to be in the military.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like the sense of patriotism. I don't know if that's the right way to say it.
I would hope that someday that humans will grow out of the war phase.
Oh, 100%.
Not need armies at all, or the need to spend billions on weapons of mass destruction. And I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about how much we spend just to blow up one person.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And then like why are we blowing up one person?
Yeah, why are we using one expensive bomb to blow up one person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have all the collateral damage and all that stuff. Yeah, that's the ironic piece is the military made me a pacifist.
Yeah.
I wasn't really a pacifist until I got out of the military.
You did that to me to a point. I
yeah.
mean,
like I will never pick up a gun again. Yeah. I know that for a fact. I will never pick up a gun again.
I couldn't say that of myself.
Not that I have anything against guns and shooting. Like I perfectly fine with it. I just won't do it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just the whole psychology of it for me. It's just no thank you.
I still like I don't know, target shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. And when me and my brothers used to hunt,
I can't do that either.
The hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not that I have anything against hunting. It's, I mean, I hate to steal a joke from what's his name, but I will. Like, it's not that I have anything against hunting. It's too early. It's too cold, and I just don't want to go.
Yeah.
You know, Ron White. Yeah, Ron White.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays I wouldn't go out of my way to go hunting.
It takes a lot of physical effort.
It does.
Yeah. And like just the hauling of the meat back too. It's just it's intense.
The field dressing and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too much for me.
Yeah.
I need my life to be way more simpler.
There you go.
And what are you up to these days?
Just hanging with my brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about it. Well, my other half here and my cats, my 3 cats.
So if you were to talk to somebody and they were to tell you that they were thinking about joining the military, what would you tell them today?
Man, I would tell somebody to do their homework
Yeah.
really thoroughly and maybe listen to what Einstein said about how the next war would be fought with sticks and stones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. That's what I would do.
And I always tell people if you're thinking about joining or you do decide to join, my best advice for anybody who is thinking about it and actually makes that decision.
I mean, I wouldn't do it to join to be Rambo or become gung ho.
Oh no, 100%.
You know, because I don't think people realize
That's not the military.
Yeah.
No, the military is a lot of digging foxholes, a lot of standing around, a lot of planning, a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
But if you decide to join the military, like my only advice, my best advice that I got, don't be the best, don't be the worst.
And be professional about it.
Yeah.
You know,
follow orders, listen to what they have to tell you, do everything they tell you to do, but don't stand out either way.
And don't let them know your name.
Yeah. No, that surprisingly enough, that saved me so much.
Yeah.
Like, it was the last ruck march of basic training. We were supposed to do, and I think I've told this story before, but we were supposed to do a 5.5 mile ruck march, and I was stressing it because I had shin splints at the time. And I was like, I'm thinking I'm not going to make it. I don't know what's going to happen. But then the drill sergeants lined us all up in formation. And they said, I'll never forget it because he's walking back and forth. And he's like, I need 2 volunteers. And he's like, no, wait, I don't want volunteers. I'm going to pick 2 people for a very special detail. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And he walking back and forth, and he makes eye contact with me, and he makes eye contact with my buddy Cornwell to my right, and he goes, Sullivan, Cornwell, are you in my platoon? And we're like, yes, drill sergeant. And he's like, see, they did it right. I don't even know their names. I don't even know they were in our unit. So they're going to be selected for this really crappy detail. And then they dismissed. Everybody went on their ruck march. And then after everybody was gone, that's when we learned that we get to hop in the back of the truck and set up the camp and bypass the 5 mile ruck march.
Oh, nice.
So being obscure and not being like out in front actually did pay off quite a bit.
I remember our one that we did. I don't know why, but I do remember I remember seeing the reflector tape on the back of the Kevlars.
Yeah.
Early morning, it was just cold as hell. And you started in the morning and we didn't finish till that night. And it was one of those.
Yeah.
It was a haul. I can't remember how many miles we ended up doing, but it was a lot, more than I care to count.
With the ruck on the back, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it was a tactical road march.
Oof, those are the worst.
So they would call
those are the worst.
Like attack from the left or the right, depending on wherever, and you'd put your rucksack as a fixed firing position. You'd use it as cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, I remember that, and that was pretty cool. And I remember seeing guys fall out, and we had a truck that was following along, and they would get in the back of it, if they weren't able to complete the.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a few guys fall out on that.
I don't know if we did or not, just because I wasn't there.
Because I want to say it was one that was required for graduation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the one that I missed.
Yeah.
Is the one that was required for graduation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had been on
I
3 or
missed the
4
pugil
before.
stick fighting. I don't know how I did that, but I missed it. I don't know if you guys ever had it.
Yeah, we did that once. Yeah.
Where you fought with the,
Yeah.
like bayonet hand to hand combat.
Yeah, it was very. I never understood it.
Yeah.
Like, it just seemed like so out of place with everything else. Like, you're learning all this other skills and all this other stuff, and then they give you a stick and say, knock them off.
Yeah.
It was very strange.
Yeah, it was.
But they did, like, try to get, like, people of similar size and stuff like that.
Yeah, we did have that too. But I never got to partake like some of the others. I wish I did.
Yeah, and then bayonet training, which, your war face. Hey, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, we did the bayonet training, but it wasn't like, I don't think it was been to the extent like World War II bayonet training would have been.
No, yeah, same I think for us, because it was only like,
It was a very short stint.
was like one time, one day.
Yeah, something like that.
Where like you need to fix your bayonet and then they'll teach you how to stab, and that was the end of that, because the idea was you'll never be in a position to where. And we were never issued a bayonet outside of basic training.
Yeah.
That just occurred to me right now. We never had a bayonet.
I hope our soldiers have some sort of
Huh. That's messing me up a bit. And I'm wondering if it's probably because we were mechanics. I'm going to guess.
Well, I don't ever remember being issued a bayonet affixed to my rifle.
Right. But we went through
had
the
it.
training.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Huh.
It was just a little filler they had to put in,
Yeah. Like a check mark on the box.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was talking to my buddy who went to basic training in the Air Force at the same time. And he was like, yeah, they showed us an M16 once.
Yeah.
Like, they never fired an M16 the entire
That's
time.
the way
they were
it
in
was
basic
for my
training.
brothers when they went like in the Navy.
Yeah.
Because they both ended up being stationed on the same ship together, which was crazy. The Eisenhower. The
brothers on the same ship?
Yeah. I'll tell you about it sometime.
That's wild.
Yeah. Another time we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been at it for about an hour.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about before we close down?
No, I'm good, Shawn. You?
No, I'm good too, I think. Bryan,
right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. If you really want to join the military, there is a spot for you. If you're listening to this, do your research. And the other thing that I would say, no matter what, don't believe a word your recruiter tells you.
Yeah.
Don't believe a word.
No.
Do your own research.
Yeah.
And make sure that you have
if
it
they
down.
promise you this school, it's a lie.
Yes.
It's all a lie.
Or like when they promised me that I would be able to come back for a concert.
Yeah, not.
No. No.
No.
I was like, yes, I'm going to be able to go to a Tool concert like right after I get done with basic training. I had all this thing mapped out. The recruiter was like, yes, yes, yes. And then I'm on a bus on the way to Kentucky.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait.
Just sign your life away.
Wait, I was supposed to jump a plane and then go back to Kentucky in 2 days. Like, what? Wait, what? So, yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, Bryan.
All right, Shawn.
Stick a fork in it.
Yep.